So welcome. It is so great to have all of you here, all you wonderful, heart-filled viewers. Thank you for hearing the call of Spirit. Welcome to our Soulful Conference, When Spirit Floods In, the Powerful Magic of Divine Self-Remembrance. I'm your host, Kathleen Ann Johnson, and I am so thrilled to share with you all the amazing speakers. I have just been so filled with the Spirit. I didn't even realize when I created this conference, Spirit Flooding In, that I would be the recipient of so much Spirit flooding in from all these amazing speakers. And so, to help us ground and embody that Spirit that's flooding in, I will be sharing my crystal singing bowl. And this is a beautiful rose quartz bowl. She has that energy of Mother Earth, a lovely low tone. So as I play this, take a nice deep breath. And feel your feet connected with Mother Earth. So pleased to introduce you to my speaker today, who is Linda Fitch, and she is a practicing student of shamanism who has studied and worked with the Inca medicine men and women of Peru for almost 3 decades. Linda is the former CEO of the Four Winds Society, dean of its Light Body School of Energy Medicine, and developer of the Dying Consciously Teacher Training Program. She's known for her groundbreaking trainings and classes and leads expeditions to the high mountains and jungles of Peru. And I was so privileged to be on her recent journey in June to Salkantay, and it was just amazing, and we'll share a little bit more about that. Linda has an amazing record and reputation as a teacher of shamanic energy medicine. She's taught at many locations like Omega, Kripalu, Esalen, Mount Madonna, and East West. Linda brings a background of working with businesses, groups, language patterns, and modeling from the field of neuro-linguistics programming. Linda delivers self-development training and seminars on personal growth subjects, such as creating a life in balance, ancestor work, dreams as messages, sacred time, creating a positive life story, visioning or seeing what you desire, and living a shamanic or sacred path. A key element in her classes and workshops is an emphasis on being in service to the world. So thank you so much, Linda, for being here. It's a joy to have you here.
Well, I just want to say first off, thank you, Kathleen, for your invitation. Thank you for taking on such an amazing summit for your, like when you said this is the kind of summit I want to do, I'm like, yes, I'm in. I'm all in. So just thank you. And thank you to all of our viewers that are here today, and to all the speakers, all the other presenters. So first off, just thank you, thank you. Yes, just pleased to be here.
Yes, and as you're saying thank you, you're reminding me of that beautiful experience in Peru where that gratitude was so spoken.
Yeah,
I just love how you share that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and
yeah.
how the shaman, that is just part of who they are. That gratitude, and awareness of everything that is blessing our lives. And so, thank you for letting me share your blessing, the blessing of all of your knowledge and presence. And you have a lovely, amazing topic to share on the sacred art of manifestation and some guidelines to intention.
Um,
So, introduce us to that.
Yeah, and I actually did a slideshow. So you know me, Kathleen. I love to teach. So as you were doing the opening, I thought, oh, it'd been fun just to do a journey and just let us flood. And as I was preparing for this summit, where I went with it is like, this is what we want. Like most people who are listening, they understand how that spirit comes in from the earth, from around, but why don't we do it all the time? And then how do we help other people? Like, so when your kids call you and they have something going on, or you have a client that has something going on, like that are, so if we get rippled, or if other people that we love, that we care about get rippled, how do we get them back to that place where they can feel that, as you said, that divine magic, to really step in that soul spot to allow it to flow in. So as I thought about that, I'm like, oh, here's some core pieces. Like you got to have these kind of guidelines in here. Then you can become that vessel, and then you can help other people. It isn't just to like, oh, feel this. It's like, well, no, you got to go deeper than that. There's other specific things. So a lot of this, it may feel a little head-like, but it really is, here's the tool. So I did it like, here's these guidelines, and we'll roll back to Peru in our last guideline. Um, and then I put a brain hack with each one. And then the way I did it, Kathleen, is I actually did slides. So if somebody, one of your viewers or participants, they can actually take a screenshot. It's like, oh, okay, I really like that piece. Or then you can actually take, and as we get into it, Kathleen, if you go, Linda, would you just give me your slideshow? Of course, of course, of course. So any visuals that you need for it. So does that sound okay as an intro?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, here we
We're
go.
ready to receive.
All right, do a screen share. And is that all good? Can see it? Okay. So this, when it's looking at what we really want to do, and I put the sacred art of manifestation, meaning it could be manifesting anything you want, but really what we want to, in this topic area, how do we manifest this place of being in that magic of the divinity? How do we manifest that place of being allowing spirit, of being that vessel, of allowing spirit to move through us? Okay, so then we have to go back a little bit further and understand the guidelines underneath that. Like what's behind that? That's the intention we want, but then what stops us? Always where I'm so curious. So before we create, this is the guidelines we want to have. And at the end, so as a free gift, I'm doing a little teaser right here. Then I'm going to go into like, oh, here's the step 1 to manifestation. Here's step 2, step 3, just so as people go, oh, because here's why I'm deeply curious. So you asking and in becoming this vessel where spirit moves through, but where do you want to use that energy? Like this is, where do we be of service? How do we help our kids? How do we help our loved ones? So, and then brain hacks. So, which just feel free to share those. So what we'll do some of it comes from shamanism. Some of it comes from Silva. Did that super early on when I was a teenager. And then some of it comes from neurolinguistics programming. And that's how I got introduced. I own an NLP business where I got introduced to shamanism. So this goes straight from NLP. They talk about that there's something they call away from and towards. So I'm just going to put them like on hands right here. They call them meta programs. It just means like a bigger program, like big is meta, or underneath program, whichever way you want to call it. And one of those is a towards, meaning you go goals, rewards, positive outcome. This is what you want to accomplish. So when you set up this summit, somewhere you said, I want to do this. I want to do this. And then you took the steps, the actions. I'm working towards, I want that. Then there's another part that's equally, both of these are important, so it's not an either or. There's another part of our brain that says, oh my gosh, this needs, it's away from. And believe it or not, this is the strongest part of your brain. Like, we're motivated by pain and suffering. Has the strongest motivation. And this is not all about the brain, but in the brain, we'll actually take the experiences of pain, suffering, whether we had it or, remember, ancestors, whether our ancestors had it, it'll store it in a special area in your hippocampus, and it'll actually bring it up quicker than what you want. So that way, and you have that in your write-up, like that pain, that suffering, that discomfort, this is where we get caught, but it's also the strongest motivator. So it's that, I call it that 10,000-year-old brain. So we want, and you hear that, like, I'm avoiding this, or I want to get away from, I'm trying to prevent. So a towards person moves towards the outcome. I want to create this summit. And away from is like, I really want to help people that are in pain. I want them to give them tools so that they have something else. And sometimes when someone's in pain or suffering, they can't even go to what they want instead, because they're driven so much by, like, you worked in the healthcare field. And when we have a healthcare issue, it takes over everything, right? And it's because it's that away from. So then we want to, and it's very contextual, like you can be very towards spiritually, but then very away from physically. Or you could be away from, have a really great towards relationships, like I love relationships. But you're away from could be money. It's like, wow, that is such a great motivator. I'm going to bring up money again. So, so again, very context specific.
Yeah,
So
I
here,
want to just say too, what that reminds me of is that away from is a survive and
yes.
towards is a thrive, right? So
Yes, yes. And the survive is stronger in our brains because our brain is built to keep you strong. It is built to, it's all based on survival, is the brain. That's really, and it doesn't actually go for truth either.
right.
Like, it really isn't that is what's happening. It could have been some trauma that happened years ago, but your brain wants to keep you safe. To survive, it will actually put, like, oh, don't you remember that old trauma? You can't do that. You should be afraid of this. You shouldn't take that on because of this old trauma. Survival, thriving. Yep. So here's this really cool brain hack. And this is for, like, and for me, it's worked on specific areas, plus then helped just give me clarity. Like, oh, there's something underneath that. I really need to work on it a little deeper. So you pick and you write it down. I have my little notebook. So you get paper and you write down on it a bad habit, or like something that you avoid doing. Like, it could be, maybe too much Netflix at night, or I stay up reading a book, or I eat too many cookies, or I drink another glass of wine. So whatever, or I don't go for the walk I really want to go for a walk on. So you write it down, and then actually, because your brain doesn't do words, just think about it. Like, the brain was started with, like, the words came a lot later. It started with images on a cave wall, right? So we do really good with videos and pictures. Pictures of says 1,000 words. Then the words come later. Sound. That's why all your work with sound. That has a different line with the brain. So you see it as a movie, what it is that you want to change. So you first write it down, then you see it just like a movie, like playing out da 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 da. There's Linda, and I've given some examples. So maybe I'm just going to use those like watching. And I one of my kids came to stay with me for just like for a week, and we did some of the binge watching, and I woke up in the whole day and I'm like, oh my gosh, we just spent the whole day watching Netflix. Had a wonderful day with her, but that's not normally, I don't normally turn on that bingeable Netflix because then there's 3 hours that are gone, that I could have done something else. So anyway, so however that plays out, whatever your habit is, so you see it, you see yourself doing it, you get the feeling, like, what does this feel like in my body with it? And then you play it out as a movie, and you're the commentary over here, like, oh, there's Linda. Can you see her turning on the television? Oh my gosh, she chose XYZ. Oh, look at that. She's starting to binge watch, blah, 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 blah. Oh, there's the next episode that just started up. Or it could be over a glass of wine. And I don't drink much at all, so I can talk about this one easily without a trigger. Oh, there's Linda. I can see her. She's reaching in for the bottle of wine again. She's pouring that third bottle. Now we need to wake ourselves up. So this is away from. And what we add, this flat observer voice, we're seeing it playing out, you add for the rest of her life. And what the intention of that is the shock system that sometimes happens when we go to the doctor. Like, hey, if you don't change this habit, your life expectancy is this. Or if you keep doing X, Y, this, and like it's that shakeup where we're like, no way, am I going to keep drinking those 3 glasses of wine for the rest of my life? I'm not going to do that binge watching for the rest of my life. I'm not going to grab that third thing of cookies. I'm not going to finish that bag of chips for the rest of my life. So it's a shock. That's that left brain, I don't want this. Or it could be something you're underdoing, like you're not doing your walk as much for the rest of your life, and you're like, nope, my physical body, my self-care is important. So that's the brain hack. Good. So so away from and towards. Then the second thing, of course, and now we get into, more of our area with it. Each one of those has a vibration and a frequency. And it's not like one's good and one's bad. It's just we want to understand that there's a certain power in that shock place and that away from, like, oh, I don't want to do that. But really and truly, if we stay over in that 10,000-year-old brain of survival, it has a certain vibration. I have a little image of that, but we're going to create more of that. Versus if we go over into the towards, really has a much different vibration. That's that thank you, thank you, thank you. That's why we use that. And that's why, because it holds a different vibration with it. Now, and if we want that, like you want that, whatever you want to create, another trip to Peru, a trip to India, I'm going to like more, even something new and yummy for your business or for somebody in their life, what we want to do is every day we have to hold that. It's not like you can hold this away from this pain and then create what you want. You in your body, the feeling, not the thought, in the feeling of what you want, you have to create it every day. You have to hold that vibration every single day because that's what creates it. So the way I teach it, and you've probably heard this one from me, Kathleen, before. So when I had a puppy and had the dog trainer trying to get the puppy to come, that's our signal for come. And she goes, Linda, this puppy is giving up all those smells, that big yard, that like all those kind of things to come over to you. It's giving up all this freedom to come to you. And you have to really go to that vibration of thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, sweet dog, for coming over here. 16 to 20 seconds research shows to reprogram the brain. That's that neuroplasticity that the brain will reprogram. And you have to let the brain rest on that good stuff is what Rick Hansen talks about, that we rest on the good. That's what vibration will do. That's what that sound will do. Allow it to rest in there 16 to 20 seconds. That's like, okay, good dog, good dog, good dog, good dog, good dog, good dog. And I'm not looking at my watch. Good dog, 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 good dog. Oh my gosh, good dog, good dog, good dog, good dog, good dog. 20 seconds. So that's that place of those higher vibrations of thoughts, of emotions, of that compassion, appreciation, gratitude. Like that is, in order to allow spirit to come in, we have to be holding that.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah. It's just like once you understand that, you're like, oh, I understand why I have to hold it and I understand what I'm holding. And yes, that's what I want. And that we understand the 10,000-year-old brain is just trying to keep you safe. It's not bad brain. It's just trying to keep you safe. Yeah. Brain hack. And this is the one I love. So you're talking to a loved one, you're doing whatever. And sometimes I always look like, what's the drama that's happening? Like we're like, where am I at? If you sing it, you'll know, are you in that high vibration? Like, oh God. See, when I've heard you sing, Kathleen, I've heard you do that flow of, oh God. Or are you creating this place, oh God, make my life better. I can't pay my bills. You know, and you can feel that. It's like, oh my God, I don't want to be singing that song. For God, that is a high vibration. Oh God, my life is such a mess. I can't pay my bills. Everything is wrong. I just don't do anything right. And then the whole goal is that you laugh and you
Yes.
go, oh, that's what I'm doing. Let me change my tune. Let me sing a different song. And then you're like, oh, what is it? What is it, that sound that allows spirit to flood in? You know, what
Yes,
is that?
I was going to share that I've been doing chanting more regularly, and I definitely find that that brings that, repeating those positive mantras totally brings you into that higher vibration. And even if you're, not completely focused on it, but you have that intention of coming back to it. Keep
Yes.
coming back to that intention of what the mantra is meaning, that it takes you there and it creates that energy and brings in what you are intending. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, again, it's that rewiring of those, and that the old mantras have thousands of years behind them. Like when we did ceremony in Peru on some of those land, that sacredness, thousands of years of ceremony there. So it's the power of that. Yeah.
Yes.
So then the next thing is really important to do, and this is as we, again, was creating that vessel for spirit, helping our kids, our loved ones, is that really you have to take the action. Meaning you have to open your voice, you have to do the singing, you have to pick up your bowl, you have to sit in meditation, you have to go, you have to do the noticing, like, oh my gosh, look at what I was just creating over here. That's not where I want to be. I want to be over here. I don't want to be in those 3 glasses of wine. I don't want to be in that binging. So it's like, then you have to take the action. So where it's from that inner authority, like from soul and spirit, I decide what I want to have for my life. And as you know, in Peru, the word Aini is that right relationship, but it's intention and action equals Aini. So you have to then pull that. So you're bringing in this vessel of allowing spirit to flow through, but you want to take it into action. Like, what is that place with it? And then the brain hack that I look at here is notice drama. That for me, drama is a huge red flag, whether it's my own drama or drama with somebody else. Is like, oh my gosh, there's something, it's a different vibration that with the drama with it. And I look at it, doesn't mean that things aren't going to be clunky and chunky. Like, we're very human in a very physical body here. So it could be our relationships with a loved one, or relationship with work, or relationship in any way, like it doesn't mean that everything always feels like it's in the flow. We have those clunky, chunky, our ancestors, clunky, chunky stuff, right? And that just means that we just look at it, pick it up a little bit, notice it, don't project our stuff on everybody, and then come back into that place that you want. So create that new pathway, but it has to take the action to create the pathway.
I like those words, clunky, chunky.
I know.
Those are fun. And it really gives that, it describes that resistance that is integral in those red flag areas, that
Yeah.
the resistance is like the gears aren't turning the way we want them to, nice and smooth and with ease and grace. They're
But sometimes what we think is like, that's wrong. Instead of just saying, oh, it's clunky chunky. One of my kids and I were having a discussion, and I said, it is just clunky chunky right here. And she goes, but Mom, at least we're talking about it. At least we're talking about it. It's like, yeah. And I said, why don't we use a code language that says clunky chunky? It's clunky chunky right here, just so we all know, oh, this may not be easy. That's okay. We still love each other. We're still resting on that. Wow.
Yes, that's so important to say. It's okay, and
It's okay. Yeah.
accept where we're at and look at it honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me do this one. So there it is. So I put this one in is because it's a realization. Okay, so we go, okay, I really want to be that vessel. Here we have some wonderful speakers that are all saying, this is how we can allow spirit to flow through. I want that. I want that. And then there'll be a time. So maybe it's like doing your meditations, doing your chanting, moving forward with a project, that all of a sudden our motivation changes. So and it's just know that that's going to happen. So what we want to do is want to up level is what we want to do with it. So part of it, maybe our motivation at first was away from the pain and away from the suffering. Like again, that 10,000-year-old brain, we get away from that. So you put in the extra work, you put in the extra time, you put it, like you override some of our own systems. Remember when your kids were little, like we would get up in the middle of the night, we do, like even I'm sure putting this summit together, as wonderful as it is, like there was some away from. It's like, hey, I got to get this stuff out the door. I need to get, so it's like, or else the speakers need this. I got to get it done. And then it starts to change. And that's just, we want to be aware of that. So as an example, like if the worry was financially trying to make a house payment, then that was an away from. So we would bypass some of the stuff of self-care. Well, after the money's there and you can make the house payment, then it's going to be different. Now we need to up level and really go, well, why do I want to do that? Like, what's my why for creating this connection to spirit? Like, where am I taking this? Like, and as you're reading my bio where it's talking about service, it's like, yeah, what are you going to create? What's the visionary you're going to become? What's the why underneath it? So we up level our game, and that's normal. So it's just to recognize there'll be a place you're like, oh, I'm just changing my motivation. Still this vessel, but I want to be really clear what I want to do with that energy of spirit as it comes in, as I co-create with spirit. So the brain hack is just continue to explore, like what's underneath that, what's underneath that, what's even more important than that. And then using straight from my NLP background as we go into what we want to create, it really is like, is it positive? Is it initiated by you? Is it controlled by you? Do you know the chunks? Do you need to small chunk it? How do you know when you have it? Like, what will you see, sense, hear, feel when you have that? Like, you're like, okay, I want to create this summit. This is what I'll see, sense, hear, feel. Is it controlled by you? Yes. Like, and you had to chunk it into pieces with it. And then who do you want this with? Who do you want to share it with? What could be some of the negative consequences? Well, it occupied a heck of a lot of time. And yeah, there's some things showed up in your family. That's okay. with it. Is it achievable? What are the time frames? What are you already doing that would help with it? What resources? Oh, I have all these people that I know. I have these amazing presenters and they know people. So like all the resources there. So what I loved I actually did NLP before I did any of the shamanic work. And it was actually an NLP organization where I first got introduced to shamanism. So like the well-formed outcome should always be part of your thought process. This is what I want. Oh, it's not something, oh, I want to create that for my kids. No, your kids get to create what your kids want to create. And in having patience, it's like they have to choose, right? You can't make them healthy. They have to choose to take the steps. Here's the consequences. Here's the actions. So if anybody wants to go through and do screenshots, these are so well-formed outcomes. And then, of course, intention and manifestation. So intention is where you say, this is what I want. And then it puts your brain, that reticulating activating system on your brain. It'll make it start working. Like keep writing something at the top of your paper. That's why vision boards. So we're in January, so vision boards, again, that's why they're so, part of it is because it helps your brain work. And then that helps, gives you clarity, direction, that makes sure you're in alignment with everything that you're creating. And time frames, like you're like, oh great, I want to take on that project, but I can't start until March because I have some other things on the calendar. So that's just like, is this all doable? And then if you think about it, then manifestation is the action that follows. So intention is the seed, you got to do the seed, then manifestation is the fruit. So we want to manifest this place of spirit, becoming that vessel, spirit flooding in with it. So we want to have that, set the intention for it, then take the actions so that seed will grow. And then you have to practice it. So my gift for everybody is the step-by-step, like how do you manifest? And the brain hack with this is you got to dig deep. Because if there's something underneath, vision boards are amazing, but if there's something that's underneath, like you put something on your vision board where it could actually be a conflict, like you want that, but you also want this, that could be a conflict. And or the brain pops in and says, well, other people can have that, but your family, you can't. You can't have money, you can't have these things. If there's old family patterns, your inner language always rules. You got to look at that first. So you could say, I want to be this vessel for spirit, but you got to look deep first. So if spirit's not doing that flooding in all the time, then look deep. So that's that internal, like stay out of, like don't beat yourself up. You want to return to the living pulse where spirit's the mystery, that you are moving through your soul. Be super gentle, super, super gentle. And then, of course, that you want to walk with integrity with other people. That this is what we do. It's spirit's power. And you're in right relationship with that place of power, but you have to work with integrity. So this is why I put this one in. The only difference between one student and another, one teacher and another, is how you walk in the world. Is what you do with it's not about the knowledge, it's not about the wisdom, it's really that you walk, act, work, be at one with spirit, with integrity. And, did I have here, let me go back. Yeah, that's your brain hack, to know that. And with that is that you really look at your core beliefs with that, So I know as part of, we talked about that place, that the sacred, and this is right from part of that, spirit coming in, being that vessel, is that the sacred used to be woven into every aspect of life. So when we were with the Caro up on the mountain, you would never ask them about, oh, tell me about belonging. Their connection is a given. They never hold a belief. Any indigenous cultures, They don't hold the belief that they were kicked out of the garden. They always hold the belief that the world is safe, that it's a loving place, that they're worthy of good things, and they're not separated from spirit. So when we talk about for this summit of being that vessel, spirit flooding in, is that you recognize that you're worthy of this, that this is straight love, and that there's no separation, that this belongs, that this is part of your having sacred woven into every aspect. That when we drive our cars to work, that's part of the sacred. When we make dinner, that's part of the sacred. When we chat with our kids, our patients, that's all part of the sacred. That it's not separate. That we, yes, it has this away from and towards. Yes, there's different vibrations. Yes, there's complementary opposites. As you know, that Yananti Masinti, there's a yes and a no, and they're both okay. But we all belong within that. That there's no separation. That there can be duality, but no separation with it. And then as you pray, that transformation happens. It's like that spirit is with you. Of course, there's no separation. There's no longer an I. It's just always that deep sense of belonging. All the inhabitants of the earth, everything that you want to create. And then we offer that back. Then that weaves back to that thank you, thank you, thank you. Then we just say thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Fire, earth, water. And then of course we forget, right? So we remember. And it's all about our practices to remember that we are this vessel for spirit and spirit flooding in. So those are, and let me see. Oh, and your brain hack, bragging hack. Okay, so here's the brain hack so that we go before, again, this is like anytime. So ripples happen with it. That's just an old pattern, that clunky chunky, it happens. Clunky chunky pieces with it. Old events that happened, old triggers, old family stuff with it. So I recommend people to get out their journal. Like when things keep going, you're like, what's going on here? Get out your journal. Get out your journal with it. And then really look at if the basis of your behavior is that you've been kicked out of the garden, exiled, and you're trying to earn your way back, redemption, then every result you have is going to be exiled, right? That's not away from. We're just trying to overcome this. And what we want to notice is when we get rippled, I don't care what it is, it could be with election results, it could be rippled with something at work, it could be rippled with our kids, finance, anything. When we get rippled, where are you? That's what you want to journal about. Like, did you just kick yourself out? How do you get back to spirit flooding in, right? That's what we want to come back to. So whether it's through psychedelics, whether it's through sound, whether it's through meditation, all your things that your wonderful speakers are going to talk about, how do we get back? That's, to me, the bottom line. It's like, how do you get back with it? So, and then it's that time when so how can you root your identity in this place of beloved and belonging and included? So that's what you're going to manifest again and again. Like, how do you get back in the flow? And then this is from your marketing. So there was a time when people were intimately connected to spirit within, when they knew their own unique eternal nature, when they knew their unity with Mother Earth, with each other, with the cosmos, with their creator. There was a time when spirit flooded in. It was manifested in daily life. And a time to remember, and I added that, the time to remember that is now. And you can just rest on this where you kind of go, I don't know how, but I know it's going to happen. And I know it has my belonging there. So figure out, do your journaling, and then get to that underlining truth again that you're beloved and included. Get back in the flow, do whatever you need, put on the pieces, buy this. I don't even know if you're doing a summit package, but like get back into that, like bring that back in.
Yeah,
So
I loved having you read that to me. Just like Wow, that is, I just felt that, and it feels different when somebody else says it than when it's just in your head
Yeah.
and you're
And I
right
had,
there.
Kathleen, I had created all of this, my slideshow, and then I was going, then you had sent out your material, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is it. You have to go back to that place of unity with Creator. And then it's a curiosity, like, what are you going to do with that? That's when it gets exciting to me. Wow, of course, but we first want to, sometimes you have to go back to those guidelines. Like, what's the 7 critical things you need to have? And then you want to be able to then go back, know those, and be able to go back again and again. And we're going to get rippled, right? We're going to get rippled. Did you just exhale yourself out? And how do
Yeah,
you
and
get back?
I love that you shared that, looking at our core beliefs. And also, I think sometimes, myself included, where we we look at like, what's in my way, what's my resistance, and we're kind of starting to focus on that rather than saying, wait a minute, this is just something to move through. And at my core, I am this
Right,
beautiful, loving, eternal spirit, and just playing with these different beliefs. And these are just
yeah,
experiences that I've had. And so it's just, something that we just do with curiosity and wonder and go like, wow. So this belief happened when I was, a child, and I had this experience, but it was just an experience, and it was a judgment I made, and that's not who I am. I am
right,
this
right.
beautiful being.
Right. And then to really recognize that place where we've been kicked out, that sense of it, like where we're not included, where we don't belong, like that happened. Yes, that Unati Misinti, that no and yes, like, oh my gosh, I'd never do that again. But it isn't like we try to push that away. It's like, oh, okay, it made me who I am. I have that sense of belonging. And then just to recognize how old that is, like indigenous cultures. So part of this started, like, if we talked to Don Pablo, so you and I worked with Don Pablo on the mountain, or even Wilson some, but really Don Pablo, and asked him about belonging, it's not an issue. So from the place of the Caro, what they teach is like that right action, which is right your belly, right loving, your heart, right thinking from your head. They don't work with the first chakra. They don't work with the place, oh, we need to connect with the earth to belong again. Oh, we need to connect again. It's like, no, they are connected all the time. And they're just saying, with this connection, this belonging all the time, let me take the right action. Let me let me really be in my heart, and let me be that place of right thinking around this, not binge Netflix. So let me change that, so that's that, and those brain hacks. So this just really came home to me as I was teaching one of my INI Thriving Relationships class in person. I'm like, oh, that's why we didn't talk about that when we were in Peru. We didn't talk about, hey, Don Pablo didn't teach this is how you connect into the earth. It's because they always are connected. And I went, I get it. I get it. That has to be there. That's the core to be this vessel for spirit flooding in, is that it has to know that you are that this belongs and this is your birthright, and then we just go back and use a tool to come back into it. All
Yes,
right.
I've noticed that. I mean, I've had a couple trips this year to Peru
Yes.
and to Cambodia, and in those trips, I have felt more connection with the earth. And, I've just allowed that in different places and allowed that to flow in more completely. And so I'm just wondering if you can give our listeners a simple way of feeling that connection and knowing it, feeling it in their body and knowing it. Because, when I was in Cambodia and I was looking out over this beautiful expanse of lush green earth. And I just felt that divine feminine. And I just felt the earth come up and fill me up. And I was just like, oh my goodness, I am part of the earth.
And what I super love about your sharing is exactly right. It's not thinking, hey, how do I think myself back into belonging? We get rippled. Okay, so we're just going to back up. Somebody listens to the conference, they get this like, whoa, and then we're going to get rippled. We're going to step out the room. We're going to do whatever. Kids, somebody will call. We'll get rippled. Then we want to come back to that, right? That whoa. How do we do that? And it's not, so you think, I want to get back there, but it really, or you wake up and say, boy, this doesn't feel good away from, right? I don't like this. This doesn't feel good. Let me move towards I want something different. Exactly what you said. It's a feeling. So that's first off, notice it isn't a thinking, it's a feeling. So in a vision board, we put pictures so we get the feeling of that picture. Like, oh, when I have a house like that, when I have a car like that, so it's the feeling you have to go for. Good dog, good dog, good dog, good dog. It's the feeling. And when it's the Mother Earth feeling, so if it was, for mine is trees. So, but it says, I loved how you said like that green, green, green. And then you could feel the Mother Earth just coming in and embodying you. And it's that feeling that you anchor in. And then the more that you rest on that feeling, that's what creates the neuroplasticity and your brain rewires. Then to get back to that feeling is quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. And then what actually happens is all your brain does is rest on that feeling. And very rarely, very, very rarely does it ever go back to the other one. Like it recodes. And then it's like, so we talk about great masters. We put them out there, right? Separate. But so we talk about great masters, wisdom keepers, whatever, that are in this flow. It's because they have held this feeling of that place of the earth. They've sat on. So it's that feeling. And then we take the actions, but the actions are doable, so that, and whether it is chanting, talked about your chanting, whether it's through your meditations, through your journeys, psychedelics, whatever it would be, but it's the feeling. It's the feeling. You're so right on. Exactly what you said. That's how you do it.
Absolutely. And yes, we have been, yeah, in our culture, we have just been so trained to be in our brains that we don't always notice the sensations, and or we just kind of like, oh, I felt that. Now I'm back to
Yeah,
my brain,
right.
So yeah, that's, our senses are so amazing.
Yeah.
And we just want to experience them.
And just like with the bowls, it's a way of feeling. So you take the sound, then you move it into feeling. So you take the image, the movie, and move it into feeling. And then hold that, hold that, hold that. So I think in your Cambodia or sitting on the mountain, where we sit in meditation under the mountain, it's really, you're anchoring in that. So I would just tell just, so for the participants, our listeners, that's really, lean into that. That's what I'll say, is like lean into that. You have sometimes it helps for the left brain to understand why we need to take that action. If we came from an indigenous culture, we would just be trained in doing the action. So I think in our Western world, it's like, oh, I understand that. And then you really understand the importance of it. And then the brain hacks, because the default's always going to be to go to that away, that suffering. There's pain and suffering. That's just the brain's default. And then we go, oh, okay, that's just the default. Let me come over here, and this is how I do it. Then you got to apply it. And then you step straight into that spiritual place of anchoring it.
Yes, totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And I love how everything you presented has made it very clear about these patterns and steps and the sidetracks and coming back to that intention and to that allowing of the spirit.
Yeah.
So
And
beautiful.
And I know from your list of all your presenters too that they're going to provide, many different ways to come back to this place. So for our listeners, I'd say lean in. Like find the ones that resonate with you, do those because that could be oh, okay, my chanting works. I can go right back to remembering my trip to Cambodia and I'll be there. I can go back to the jungle and I'll be there. I can go back to Sulcantai and I'll be there. So lean into the ones that work, but also then develop more, like broaden that. And then really, so you lean in again and again, then add meditation, then add your sound, then add those things so that the brain, so you're just adding other avenues of that neuroplasticity for the brain. And then you're going to look up and you're like, oh my gosh, like 90% of my life is in the flow. 95% of my life is in flow. And then you'll feel the ripples. And then, as that's really anchored back into that, that a one with spirit, then of course it'll be there. And then I'm very curious, like, what are you going to do with it? Like, how are you going to take that to be of service? Like, what's the vision? How do you want to apply that in the world? Like that now you hold power. What are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with that? What do
Yeah.
you want to create?
Yes.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
How are we gonna play?
How are you going to play? Yeah. That's the difference we want to make in the world. Oh,
And I love the gift that you're offering to help us with the sacred art of manifestation.
yeah. And that just goes through the step by steps with it. And for everybody listening, like sometimes just being the best grandma you could be, the best mom you could be, the best employee you could be, the best spouse you could be, the best partner you could be. That is like that. It doesn't, sometimes energy people are like, oh, and it's like, no, just your being this allows somebody else to be that too. Like your being that highest vibration because of that, because of resonance, actually scientifically, will allow other people to become their best. And that is the ripples that's going to really change the world, is that just not like having to preach from there, but really just being there. And that's what's so cool about your speakers, hun, is that they're all in and wanting and holding, and you are that high vibration place. So,
Yeah,
uh,
beautiful. And yeah, you were just making me think too about when I do the Galactic Akashic readings and connect with my client's soul. It is so simple, it's just like you are this beautiful soul that holds this a special quality that you just radiate, and that's
yeah,
and that is like your primary purpose.
yeah,
You just radiate this quality, and then yeah, you can do many things with it in your humanness. You can create many different things, but at our essence, we're just these beautiful qualities of love
yes,
and service, and we just hold different unique gifts, but they're simple and they're to be honored, and just feel that within yourself.
yep,
Just feel that
yep,
goodness that you are.
yep. And that we are, and that we're in this very human experience, that we're going to get rippled and we're going to have kids and we're going to have loved ones and we're going to have like neighbors, like we're going to have all that stuff. And that's okay. So it's not discounting any of that. It's like really being so present, grounded, part of the Mother Earth, so present, such an honor, such a gift, that we have to be here this lifetime. Just such a gift right now that I think in the shamanic death and dying work is all that we just recognize what a gift it is to be in that radiating light. Yeah.
Yes,
Spirit flooding in. Yeah.
very much so. Yes. And I just want to share with all of our viewers that Linda leads amazing journeys to Peru, and she creates just the most beautiful experience, all of the the lovely accommodations and the work with the shaman and the connection with nature. I just had an amazing experience. And one thing that was kind of fun that I came aware of when I came home from that trip is I said, before I left, I could feel the earth under my feet. I felt my connection with the earth under my feet. And when I came back, I could feel my connection with the earth through the whole continent.
Yep, and belonging, and belonging. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So thank you so much, Linda. And any last words?
Oh, just so much love and appreciation for, for bringing this. I know the amount of work it takes to put one on, and so your commitment and the place of holding that. So just so value who you are and how you walk in the world and all that you're doing. So much love to you.
Thank you, thank you. And thank you to all of our viewers. And we will see you later at our next session. So bye-bye and have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.